Part of the interruption, but I'm Stephen A. Smith. Hey, Tony, when Wilbon is gone, do you miss him?
Tony Kornheiser. Wilbon? Wait, is he the guy who used to sit there? Is he that guy? So we say this, we kid because we love, and because as much as we love Wilbon, he's not watching the show. He's in Japan.
All right.
So we don't have to worry if he sees it or he doesn't see it. But if he texts me, I'll tell him you were great.
Somehow,
I'll tell him you were great.
Somehow, I don't think you would be worried even if he did.
Probably. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. With Wilbon too soft to work the entire week, I am lucky to be joined by our great friend from First Take and his very own daily radio show, Mr. Stephen A. Smith. And we begin today with a story about an all-star athlete going to the Bulls. Not Wilbon's Chicago Bulls, real Bulls, actual Bulls, the Bulls that run wild in the streets in Pamplona, Spain. Josh Norman, a former all-pro cornerback who the Redskins are paying a total of $75 million, is shown in this video literally jumping over a bull. This was a huge thrill for Norman, who said, quote, "I had to face the bull straight on. It was fun, it was worth it, it was really worth it," unquote. Stephen, if you ran the Redskins and you woke up to this morning, what would you do?
Let me tell you something, what I would do, Tony. I'd have picked up the phone. I'm talking about Daniel Snyder. I'm not talking about the general manager. I'm not talking about the head coach. I'm talking about the owner, Daniel Snyder. I'd have picked up the phone. I'd said, "Excuse me, I just gave you $37 million over the last 2 years. By the way, you've been here 3 years. You haven't made the Pro Bowl one time.
Right.
Okay.
Underperformed.
You've been here.
He's underperformed.
$37 million. You're slated to make $15 million. Did you know that if I just got rid of you right now, I would save $11 million on my cap? What the hell is wrong with you? So, do you know what? I better not ever in life see that again as long as you're wearing a Redskins uniform. You got to be crazy.
So wait a second. So you wouldn't say to Josh Norman, "You have mad hops jumping over the bull like that"?
No, I would not.
I would have said exactly what you would have said. I would have said, "You've underperformed for me, and now you're doing something that could get you killed." 5 people were gored, apparently, in that thing. Yes. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, well, the Redskins are terrible, okay? They're a terrible team. Mm-hmm. What if they lose a guy to bull goring? Like, when you go on the DL, is that what it is supposed to say? I would think that, you know, I thought about this. What would be in your contract that you were prohibited from doing? This wouldn't be in there because nobody would ever think you would do this.
Yeah, you're supposed to know better. That's really, I like Josh Norman, but you're supposed to know better. Now, the man accounted for 7 turnovers last year, 3 4.
Had a good year, his best year.
Had his best year as a Redskin, pretty decent year. Pro Football Focus, Josh Norman, did you know they have you ranked as the 69th best quarterback in football? And I'm watching you jump over bulls? We got a problem.
So we
got a problem.
Should we put it in the contract that you can't walk into the Lions then, that you can't hold poisonous snakes at a tent revival?
You know what?
What are you doing?
Come up with anything that you can think of, and plus I would have the right to modify and add stuff at my discretion if it endangers your ability to potentially play football for me.
They're not cutting him. Trust me. I know this team. They're not cutting him.
They're not.
No.
They're not. By the way, if you didn't hear about this guy, let me introduce you to him. James Ennis III. A virtual unnamed forward for the Philadelphia 76ers just signed a 2-year extension to remain with the team. When asked why, he didn't say it was about the money, nor did he say it was about his love for the city of Philadelphia. No, Tony, he said the reason he elected to stay was that with Kawhi Leonard now going to L.A., the 76ers would walk into the conference finals in the Eastern Conference. Tony, should he have opened his mouth and said this? And is he right?
So my first reaction was, who in God's name is James Ennis III or James Ennis II? And I did small research because I don't do the kind of research that you do. And I find out that he plays about 12 to 15 minutes a game. And he's just some guy. And he's writing checks that Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons have to cash. Now, I've gone through this with Mike. He loves the 76ers, and maybe you do too. So I'm going to sit back and listen on this. But to me, if you lose Jimmy Butler, and you lose J.J. Redick, you've lost a lot of scoring. I don't know why people love the Sixers as much as they do.
Well, I would say this. The prevailing point is that his mouth, tried to deposit checks that his backside can't cash. He just needs to keep his mouth shut. Average 6 points, 3 rebounds last year. Just be quiet. Be happy you're in the league. That's number one. Having said all of that, I will say this. I have the Philadelphia 76ers as the favorites to come out of the East. Boston has lost Horford. Where did they lose him to? To Philadelphia. They've lost Kyrie Irving, although they replaced him with Kemba Walker. They're there's some depth issues as well. Milwaukee lost Mirotic. He goes back to Europe. You lost Brogdon. He goes over to Indiana.
But they got the best player in the league.
I understand that, but again, Brogdon and Mirotic are two big losses, okay?
Right.
We saw Toronto smoke them, led by Kawhi Leonard. He's now in Los Angeles with the Clippers. So when you think about the preeminent roadblocks in the Eastern Conference that could potentially derail the Philadelphia 76ers, all three of those teams are a lesser version of what they were last year. Meanwhile, although the Sixers lose Redick and they lose Jimmy Butler, two big losses, make no mistake. They got Horford. They acquired Josh Richardson, who's a damn good two-way player coming from Miami. You still kept Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. With Horford, I think that's a big deal, and the Sixers should be the
I'm not
favorite.
going to go back and forth forever and ever on this, but do you ever worry that Horford, at his size, will get in Embiid's way?
No.
And that won't work? So you think that's going to work?
Because he's an elite defender, he's a great sub, and he can hit perimeter shots away from the basket,
Do you think it's
which is a plus.
possible with Toronto that even though they don't have their best player, that when a team learns to win and accomplishes something, there's some muscle memory and they remember how to win and they shouldn't be discounted that easily?
Well, my response to that would be, what muscle memory are you talking about? I think the biggest muscle was Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah,
now,
no,
if there were
understand
others,
that.
that would be different. To lose him is a big deal.
So you like the 76ers?
I like the 76ers.
So you're with James Ennis the third, the second, and the first.
I'm with James Ennis the first, the second, and the third, but not the dude that opened his mouth.
Okay.
The dude that's on that team.
Chauncey Billups has a theory as to why nobody has picked up Carmelo Anthony. He said this on Sirius XM radio. This is a quote. Scoring 30 points meant too much to Melo. He could have games where he had 20, 22 points. We win the game and he's mad. He might have 36, we lose the game, and he's in there picking everybody up. I think now you fast forward the tape, and the reason why he's not in the league, because he's still worthy, is that he hasn't mentally taken that step back to say, okay, I'll come in and play against backups. I'll try to help the team out. I know I might not be able to close, but I just want to help. He's not there yet, unquote. That is some kind of quote. Stephen, is Chauncey Billups right?
I don't think it can be denied that he's right, because he would know better than most. The one NBA Conference Finals appearance in Carmelo Anthony's career, Chauncey Billups was his point guard. When the Philadelphia 70, when he played with the New York Knicks, Chauncey Billups was his teammate for a little bit there as well. We have to take this into consideration. I'm one person that has constantly come to the defense of Carmelo Anthony, a career 24-point-per-game scorer, ISO ball kind of playing, what have you. I get all of that. But I never wanted to deem him selfish. Chauncey Billups is more qualified to make that quote than me. And for Chauncey
I think they played
Billups,
together on two different teams.
That's right, Denver and New York. Yeah. For Chauncey Billups to say, quote, you score 20, you score less than 30, and you're down when we win, but you scored 30 or 36, and you're picking guys up when we lose. That might be the most devastating quote that has ever been said against Carmelo Anthony. And that can't be denied.
I'm going to go back in history for a little while. I mean, because Carmelo Anthony is a great player, and he's fallen off a cliff. I mean, nobody wants him. He's a great, great player.
Right.
I'm going to go back to the Knicks, and I don't do this to make you angry, because it's even before you were born. The Knicks of the Willis Reed and Dave DeBusschere team. At one point, they gave one of their aging stars a sweetheart deal. You know, 2-3 years on the end of the bench, you don't have to do something. I think it might have been Dick Barnett. I'm not sure. And in fact, the minutes are reduced, but you play it out in glory. You know, you're back with the team. And I remember Earl Monroe, who's a great, great player, who essentially took Dick Barnett's spot. And he said, I want one of those when I'm done. I want one of those for 2 or 3 years at the end. And he got one of those too, and he played 20 minutes a game. This is a guy who's in the Hall of Fame. Apparently, Carmelo Anthony cannot adjust to that sort of deal, because there's a lot of teams who could be helped by him if he were to do that.
I can retort with even more of just as profound of a story. Carmelo Anthony's 3 best friends in the NBA are considered to be the banana boat crew of Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Chris Paul. Chris Paul's never been to an NBA Finals, but a miniature point guard, floor general. We know how exceptional he is, but again, your size and your game, you're limited to some degree in terms of carrying a team. That's not the case with Melo. Wasn't the case with D. Wade, who won an NBA Finals and an NBA Finals MVP before LeBron ever arrived. Plus, it's certainly not LeBron James. You got drafted in the same draft as LeBron James and D. Wade, and you have never been to an NBA Finals. That's an ouch reality. All is not well in Major League Baseball. Young players aren't getting paid. Older players aren't getting
NBA contracts. Every other professional athlete looks at these long guaranteed contracts for hundreds of millions of dollars and says, I want a piece of that. Baseball players go, I play 162 games. I'm out there for 8 full months. I don't get a fraction of this. They can keep me in the minors to delay the clock ticking so I can get to free agency. They can keep me from free agency for 6 years. So I think their anger is justified. And I think if they had a stronger union, it's possible they could make some progress on those 2 points.
Well, you used the word jealousy. What I would say to you is this. Maybe it's not jealousy. Maybe it's absorbing the reality of this situation and considering it incredibly and excruciatingly unfair. You're Major League Baseball players. You got to give a team like 5 to 6 years before you can even delve into free agency.
And in the NBA, you can be 22 and 23 and get there.
So you have to wait for your pay.
Plus, and in the NBA, you don't have to spend an apprenticeship in the minors.
That's right. Exactly. So you have that reality. But back in the day, at least recently as a few years ago, the belief was, okay, we don't get paid on the front end, but we'll get paid on the back end. But now we saw Kimbrel, saw Keuchel. These guys didn't get contracts until June, for crying out loud. You know that, whether it's Trout, it's Bryce Harper, Machado, all of these guys, they had to wait before they got paid. And so when you look at it, they're saying,
there's another part to this. It's analytics.
Yes.
Analytics tells you that you're past your prime at 30, 31, or 32. So if you have to wait to 28 or 29 to get the long deal, you're not going to get that deal because people will say you won't produce.
But the problem is you're not getting paid early.
No, or late.
And then you're not getting paid late. And the prime of your career, you don't even know if you're going to get paid because they don't have to pay you right now.
Whereas, again, in the NBA, you get paid. Let's take a break. Coming up, Boogie says he's ready to play them all for the Lakers. Could he be back at 100%? You got to read.
Oh, Melvin Gordon wants a new contract. Should the Chargers give him one?
Day 2, I thought you'd be right on that.
I paused. I'm sorry. I'm slipping. My bad.
It's funny. It's time to peer into the future, which is why I am dressed as a psychic. For some reason, Stephen A. is dressed as a king. What happened to me? And since our first call.
Hi, Tony. Hi, Stephen A. This is Nick, the intern. I just wanted to know, do you see DeMarcus Cousins being back to 100% for the Lakers?
Yeah, I'm not a medical doctor. I got a PhD honorary, but I'm not a medical doctor. But I'll tell you this. This comes about because Boogie Cousins has spoken incredibly optimistically about once again playing with Anthony Davis and being on the Lakers. He thinks they're going to be great. When they first were together on New Orleans for a couple of years, I thought it'd be a disaster because I thought they'd get in each other's way. But it turns out that Boogie averaged 25 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists before getting injured. They played well together before. I'm anxious to see this.
Let me say this to you about Boogie Cousins. I think it's the wrong question. It's not about whether or not he's going to be 100% or not. It's whether or not we should care. Because what is he really going to do if you are the 4th option for the Los Angeles Lakers? It's a tad bit different when you're the 4th option because of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson launching threes all over the place. But in L.A. with LeBron and A.D., getting into the interior, shooting 15 to 17-foot jumpers, and a Kyle Kuzma, who's still a baby in this league. If you're behind them, I'm interested in seeing how he's going to respond to that.
Why do I feel I should say yes, Your Majesty? What's next?
Hey, Tony. Hey, Stephen A. This is Chris. I want to know if you've seen Melvin Gordon getting a new contract before training camp.
So he's the best touchdown producer that the Chargers have. In the last 31 games, he's got 38 touchdowns. I think I could interest any team in that. There is some knock against him that he's not as durable as they'd like, that he gets hurt all the time. I honestly think they're a pretty good team. They were a contender last year. Phillip Rivers is getting old. That window is small here. I think they should give him the money. You don't want a Le'Veon Bell situation where your best running back doesn't play at all.
Well, the biggest argument you have in your favor is about Phillip Rivers because he is getting old.
Yeah.
What I would tell you is this. Melvin Gordon, I'm not sure he's going to get this contract. Here's why. 2 reasons. Number one, even though he scored a touchdown in each playoff game, recording 14 touchdowns for the season, 1,300-plus yards from scrimmage, the reality is that he only had a total of 69 yards in those 2 playoff games. That's number one. Number two, when you hear his name and you hear about him being disgruntled, they're mentioning Todd Gurley, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell. The man is good. Melvin Gordon is talented.
But you don't
Those
think he's in
dudes
that
is on a different level, and that's where the
And
problem
also in the
lies.
NFL, they think running backs grow on trees, and you can get him.
Well, he's going to
Next.
make $5.6 million. They are
Hey,
making him
fellas,
13.
do you see Rafael Nadal upsetting Roger Federer tomorrow morning?
See, I don't think this is an upset. I don't think there's any difference between number 3 and number 2 in the seedings. And Rafael Nadal, I mean, if this was clay, this would be a walkover. And grass, Federer's great on grass. I understand that. But Nadal has beaten him on grass. There's a couple of statistics here that are interesting. The most interesting is that they played 13 times in major events.
Yeah.
Nadal's won 10.
Yeah.
Nadal's won 10. And Federer's going to be 38 years old next month. And Nadal just turned 33. I think age matters. I said this about Serena the other. I think it matters. I think Nadal's going to win.
I don't. I think Federer's going to get it done. Last time they saw each other in the Wimbledon was 2008 when Federer had won 5 straight and then Nadal finally knocked him
Beat
off.
him.
Won his first, okay?
Beat him.
And then this is the first time they're facing each other since that time. Even though Federer is 37, let's keep in mind, this ain't the French Open where he's 0-6 against
That's
Nadal.
right.
This is Wimbledon. That's the difference.
Next.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Do you see the electronic strike zone moving to Major League Baseball anytime soon?
So I do. It debuted last night in an all-star game in the Atlantic League, which is a league owned by Major League Baseball. I think that the reason they'll go to this, it looks sort of odd, because the umpire is behind home plate. He's getting the ball and strike calls from an iPhone in his pocket, so it's a little late. I think they're going to do this because they don't want to deal with their biggest problem. The biggest problem is the games take too long. It's easy to single out umpires. Players won't stand for umpires. They don't care. And it works in tennis with line calls and stuff like that. I think you're going to see it. And I don't think a lot of people are going to complain because most, as technology goes faster, most humans only care about earbuds and Netflix.
Allow me to put my hand on this crystal ball.
Please do.
I think this will be considered maybe the most dumbest idea of the century. Let me get this straight. The ball is thrown. Let me look at my phone. Well, hold on. It says it's a strike. Strike one! No, that's not going to work. Players will lose their mind. The fans will lose their mind. Plus, it will prolong an already long and lengthy, tedious game. No way. It will not work.
The phone lines are closed, but in our future, I see us talking about Serena Williams' latest big win. You got to talk.
That's right, I do. And is Ice Cube right to throw a bunch of former NBA players out of the Big 3 league?
If it was on your phone, you got so many texts on your phone, you'd never get the ball and strike calls.
That is